Our next speaker is Narayan Kandekar, who has a degree in Doctor of Philosophy from the School of Chemistry at the University of Melbourne, and a postgraduate diploma in the conservation of easel paintings from the Courtauld Institute at the University of London. He is Senior Conservation Scientist at the Strauss Center for Conservation at Harvard University Art Museum. And his work on the Pollock material was at the center of one of those art history and science controversies that make our work interesting and entertaining. So I'll let him describe that to you. Thank you.
First of all, I want to say thank you very much to the Metropolitan Museum of Art, Marco Leone, and Joseph Lowe and his department for making the trip here so enjoyable and organising this symposium. So today I'm going to talk about 3 paintings that we examined at Harvard, which are part of a group of 32 that were attributed to Jackson Pollock, and I will just go through the process that we followed to help look at the materials that we used to make these paintings. And the first thing I want to do is just let you know that I'm here presenting the work, but it was actually the work of many, many people, including Harry Cooper, who was with us and is now at the National Gallery of Art, myself, Carol Mancusi-Ungaro, who is the director of the Center for the Technical Study of Modern Art at Harvard, and also works half the week at Harvard, the other half of the week at the Whitney Museum. Christina Rosenberger, who works with Carol, and then many scientists in my lab, Kathy Ehrman, Dan Kirby, Jens Stenger, and Kate Smith, a paintings conservator. So I thought the first thing I should do is just give you a timeline of the discovery of these works and leading up to where we are now. In 2001, Alex Matter's mother died, and he inherited a great deal of art and started sifting through them, found a pile of paintings with a brown wrapper around them in a storage facility, and on that it had an inscription that said that these were 32 works by Pollock. He then contacted Mark Borg, his dealer, who had them restored, and then they were shown to Ellen Landau, who is a highly respected Pollock scholar and professor at Case Western Reserve University. There were plans for the exhibition of a catalogue and a published catalogue. And in June of 2005, we received the first of the paintings, which is the very damaged one I'll show you soon. The Pollock-Krasner Foundation looked at the works, looked at photographs, and had very serious doubts about them, and they shared this with the press. They sent photographs of the works to Richard Taylor, who had previously published work on the fractal patterns that he said was able to identify very specific fractal patterns that could identify Jackson Pollock paintings. He looked at these new works and said that they were not by Pollock. They didn't share the same fractal pattern, nor did they share a fractal pattern consistent with each other. The plant catalogue fell through. The Pollock-Krasner Foundation took a stand and said that no authentic works by Jackson Pollock could be published alongside these newly found works. And the exhibition of the paintings was to be at the Everson Museum. That fell through also, and it turned out that Boston College was able to take over the exhibition, and from September to December last year they did have that show. There was some dispute of the fractal work by Ellen Landau's colleagues at Case Western Reserve University, and they had said that Taylor's fractal work did not in fact prove anything about the authenticity of Jackson Pollock's works. And in amongst this firing of volleys, we released our study in January last year. So just a quick bit of provenance here. Alex Matter and his parents, so there's Alex Matter, his mother, Mercedes Matter, Lee Krasner, and Jackson Pollock were all very closely connected. And here's a photograph by Herbert Matter of Jackson Pollock in his studio. So we know for sure that the Matters were very closely connected with Jackson Pollock and Lee Krasner, there's no doubt about that. The brown wrapper that came on the paintings, here's a photograph, and excuse the quality, it was the only one I could get. It said Pollock 46 to 49, which presumably means that they were painted by Pollock in this time period in his studio at Tudor City, describes the works, and there's a reference here to Roby paints. Robert Robitaille was the cousin of Herbert Matter. He ran a paint supply store, an artist supply store in Switzerland, and the implication is that the paints came from here and they were experimental paints. And this is a description of Herbert Matter's studio and presumably when the paintings were put into the wrapper. Here are some of the works. You may have seen some of them in the newspaper, and I'll just show you a selection of them. And this is the first one that we examined, which is the very damaged work. And you can see there are areas of missing paint showing the blue cardboard on which the paint is applied, and there are lots of missing areas of paint. Sometimes the blue has been ripped away to show the cardboard underneath. This is the second work we looked at, which is also painted on cardboard, blue cardboard, and has been glued onto a canvas, and then a wooden frame was applied around it. This is the third one, which is also on blue cardboard. And this is the type of cardboard that they're painted on. This piece of cardboard actually came from the Pollock-Krasner Foundation. So we know that this kind of blue cardboard was available to Lee Krasner and Jackson Pollock. And we went through a number of analytical techniques, and thanks to the previous speakers, I don't need to explain any of them. FTIR, Raman spectroscopy, SEM-EDX. This one I'll just quickly explain: laser desorption, ionization, time of flight mass spectrometry. And what we did was take a small amount of paint, you zap it with a laser, it volatilizes the paint, it then gets drawn into a mass spectrometer, and then using the mass spectrum we can reassemble the molecule and identify the starting material. Pyrolysis, GCMS, and carbon-14 dating. I'll quickly go over the carbon-14 dating. You can see here that over a period of time, carbon-14 was pretty stable in the Earth's atmosphere, and then with the advent of atmospheric nuclear testing, it overnight doubled in its amount, and that's now tapering off. And what we were looking for when we did some carbon-14 analysis of these works was to find some evidence of this spike here, and we didn't find that. It's something that is open to discussion, and it's possible that the cardboard that was used to make up the paintings all was in fact old enough and didn't have any of this, or that there was just a very small amount of this material and it was below detection levels. But it's something that is open to discussion.